Well, hello and welcome to episode 537 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's packed episode, we've got news on a near miss between a Ryanair aircraft and a Cessna. I know. Also, we've got some news on a strange and weird Airbus A320 Eurofighter Typhoon. Yeah, you heard me correctly there. And we've also got some more news on Luton's expansion programme. In the military news this week, we've got news on a brand new series coming back to our screens all about the Royal Air Force. And also news on another series coming back to our screens all about the Thunderbirds as well. So more on that coming up on the show. But we're going to say a welcome to a very special guest this week joining me on the show this week, because we are a little bit short on hosts this week. So welcome onto the show, our resident pilot of all things 747-8 and cargo. It's, of course, John Jester. Hello, John.
Hello. Goedenavond allemaal. Ik actually been home, so that's kind of a nice concept. I did a crazy round trip from Spain to Korea back to the Netherlands in about 29 hours, so glad to be here.
And good to have you back, as always, John, on the show. So what's been going on in the world of world of cargo flying since we last saw anything exciting?
Oh, not much. The going into Chinese New Year, so we get our little slow period for about a week or two when the planes all pile up in Korea, and I'll go do the maintenance work, and we don't carry too much. And then I got to go someplace fun. I got to go to Baku, Azerbaijan. That was kind of a fun change for me, and I got to avoid the cold, of Alaska, which was really good.
Ooh, flying in Alaska, we like that. We had a guest on the show, actually, haven't we, John, who done that kind of thing in Alaska?
Oh yeah, her uncle
Ariel
is a captain for us. I can't remember her name. Ariel Tweedo.
Really? Ariel?
Yeah.
Her uncle's what? Wow.
Her uncle, I don't know if he still is, if he's retired or not, but he flew for us. So me and I talked a couple times when we did flights. Very nice gentleman too.
Awesome. Wow. Learn something new every day here on the show. You might have noticed that we are missing a Nev this week. He is in Spain. I think he's doing something to do with work. It's either work or play. I don't know. Never know with Nev. But hopefully he'll be back next week to give us his Nev's passenger experience, a good report on his excursion away. Also, Nick's off this week. He's still having issues with broadband, so he's not here. And Matt as well, he was going to be joining us. He might pop in, you never know, at some point during the show, but we might see Matt Smith joining us. He's doing some serious tech work with the radio station, so he may well pop in a bit as well. But also later on, we may have Armando joining us on the show as well for a brief bit, just to have a chat with us as well, so that'd be great. But we have got producer John with us. Hello, producer John, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Good to be back on the show. It's been a while since I've been on the show, but I am still here.
How are you, John, then? How's things? How's life in the fast lane?
Yeah, it's been good. I've been in Japan this week, so that's where I've spent the majority of the week. And now I am heading on holidays. So that will be very nice. A nice, well-deserved break.
Holiday? They've allowed you to have time off?
I know, I got 2.5 weeks now.
2.5 weeks?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh, my
I think this is
word.
the most time off I've had since COVID, so I'm not complaining for sure.
I was going to say, I jest really, because you do work phenomenally hard, and I doubt whether you do get masses amount of time off, and I suspect when you do, you have to kind of work around 10 million other people.
Yeah, and it kind of comes and goes in blocks of kind of 5 days. So yeah, anything over a week is very, very prized.
Yeah, I bet. So we've got lots to get through on the show tonight, including our retro airline ad of the week, where are we going back to this week? I completely forgot now. We are going back to 1984 this week for our Retro Airline ad of the week. That's coming up later. But we're going to say a hello to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room tonight. Let's go to the top of the list. In there was Mazoos. Hello to you, Mazoos. Good to see you in there. Richard Adams as well is in there. Hobby Time. Let me scroll up the list here. Dirk S. Good to see you in there. Tanya. Hello, Tanya. Lovely to see you in the chat room as well again this week. We've got Mazoos. We've got Masha. Hello to you, Masha. Good to see you. Plane Safety Podcast. Hello, Pip. He's in a chilly Istanbul. Really? Yeah, it's 4 degrees here. We've got Master of None also joining us in there. Darren Smith. Hello to Darren. Good to see you in there, Darren. Jonathan Warner's in there, just tuning in for the grey stuff later on in the show. Captain Cruz is in the chat room. So hello to you. Also, a big hello as well to someone we don't see in the chat room very often, but one of our old school listeners, David Corsten, as well. Hello to you, David. Good to see you in the chat room as well this week. And just make sure I don't miss anyone. Oh, John Jester's in the chat room, which is always handy to have John in the chat room, especially when he's also a guest on the show. Always a good idea. So welcome to you, everyone who's joined us on the show this week. Don't forget, if you don't already follow us on Facebook, don't forget to give us a like and follow us on Facebook. Just look for Plane Talking UK. On YouTube as well, just search for Plane Talking UK podcast. We're on there, and don't forget to click on that subscribe and the bell icon to be notified when we're live and broadcasting new shows like we are now. Well, I hope we're still live. Are we still live? Yeah, we're still live. So I think that's all I've got. Oh, we have got this week, actually. Let me just click the music here. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this will work. There we go. Hopefully you can hear that. We've got Patreon, our time of the month. We say thanks to everyone who helps with the running of the show each month. Going to say thank you to our Patreon donators, Richard, Derek Smith, Bill Aronek, Sam Dawson, Alex Robinson, Dirk S, Sasha Beer, Stephen Ivey, Nicholas Codling, Luis Carres, Alan White, Stephen Howland, Tanya Wyman, Nicholas Hewitt, Masha Gertz, Ruben Wells, Neil Lamworn, Graham Haley, Jonathan Warner, Jordan Rose, Andrew Wilson, Captain Jeff, Adam Spink, Liz Piper, Jeff Ward, Stuart Backer, and Stephanie Plummer. Also, big thanks to our PayPal donators who donate through PayPal each month, and that's Jenny in Rome, the lovely Jenny in Rome, and Mazoos Karim as well. Thank you to you all, and a massive thank you to everyone this month as well for contributing towards the show. If you want to become a contributor of the show and spare a few dollars, you can find info on our website, and all the bits and pieces will be, we'll tell you about that towards the end of the show. But yeah, there we go. Thanks, everyone. Bring the fader down there. There we go. Right, so we have got lots to get through and news this week. So if everyone's ready for some good old-fashioned commercial news.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
So, starting off this week's news story, and it's a story that I think pretty much dominates most of the headlines across the globe, especially over in the US. And it was obviously all about that awful crash with the American Airlines CRJ and the Black Hawk helicopter. A few hours after we went to air last week, we obviously learned of the tragic mid-air collision between a US Army Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines CRJ 700 operating Flight 5342. As we know, there were no survivors, and it's become the deadliest US air accident since 2001, which back then was the American Airlines 587, the Airbus A320 that had the structural failure of the vertical stabilizer caused by pilot error leading to loss of control. But 60 passengers, 4 crew were on board the American Airlines flight operated by PSA. Captain Jonathan Campos, who was 34, First Officer Sam Lilly, who was 28, and Flight Attendants Ian Epstein, who was 53, and Donasia Elder as well. 3 crew were also on board the US Army Black Hawk, Chief Warrant Officer 2nd Andrew Lloyd, Lloyd Eves, 39, Captain Rebecca M. Lobach, who was 28, and Staff Sergeant Ryan Austin O'Hara, who was 28. Flight data and cockpit voice recorders for both aircraft have been recovered by the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, and they have obviously commenced their investigation into this. John, you've put a video together for us for the show tonight. Do you want to introduce that, and I'll hit that special button?
Yeah, so my video was done on Monday, so the information was current as of the 1st. Just trying to go over this, the basic story, and then give a little bit of background information about the DC area, because it is a very complex bit of airspace and a lot of interesting activities to go on there. So let's go ahead and roll the tape.
Good, everyone. This is John, your cargo pilot for 747 and former CRJ pilot and former DCA-based, Washington National-based pilot. And that's why I'm bringing this story to you about the crash of the PSA Airlines, American Airlines regional CRJ-7 at Washington with a U.S. Army UH-60 that happened on the 29th of January. Story information is coming from both Simon Herdecki's Av Herald and from Flight Radar 24 for an update. Simon's article is called Crash PSA CRJ-7 at Washington on January 29th, 2025. Mid-air collision with helicopter on final. A PSA Airlines Canadair CRJ-700 on behalf of American Airlines registration, November 709, Papa Sierra, performing flight AA5342 from Wichita, Kansas to Washington National DC with 60 passengers and 4 crew had been on approach to National's runway 01 and was asked by Tower whether they could land runway 33, which the crew affirmed. The aircraft was subsequently cleared to land on runway 33. The aircraft was on final approach to National's runway 33, descending through about 200 feet AGL, about 0.6 nautical miles before the runway threshold, when the aircraft collided with a military Sikorsky UH-60 helicopter, call sign PAT-25, with 3 occupants. Both aircraft fell into the Potomac River at 2046 local, which was 0146Z, in 30 seconds or so. Tower, did you see that? Somebody radioed at 014639. All subsequent approaches were instructed to go around. Departures were halted. All occupants of both aircraft perished as a result of the collision. Tower told aircraft waiting for departure that there had been a collision on finals to runway 33. The airfield was closed and they should return to the apron and shut down the engines. Tower diverted several helicopters in the area following the crash. A massive rescue operation commenced with multiple helicopters over the crash site, and boats were on scene for search and rescue. Emergency services stated that due to the current temperatures, people would only have about 15 to 30 minutes until hypothermia sets in and about 30 to 90 minutes survival time. Emergency services reported they received an alert from the FAA Tower about the crash at 20:48. A state and federal response was initiated involving about 300 personnel. An update that came on the 1st February from Flight Radar 24 about the NTSB briefing states that the NTSB provided additional updates today on information recovered from the CRJ's flight data recorder, the condition of the 860's recorder, and status of the aircraft controllers and the tower, DCA tower. The FDR data indicates the CRJ was at 325 feet, plus or minus 25 feet. This is AVDSB data combined with FDR data. Altitude reported by the NTSB is corrected altitude data. The initial data indicates that altitude seen by the air traffic controllers on the radar scope showed the aircraft at 200 feet. The NTSB hopes to verify the altitude by 2nd of February. I've not seen that at the time of this recording yet. The data shown on the radar scope is low fidelity. The H-60's helicopter recorder shows evidence of water intrusion. The NTSB is drying the recorder before retrieving the data. It hopes to do this by tomorrow, which is already passed, but again, no updates at this time. The FDR and the CRJ from the CRJ has been downloaded and contains 400 parameters. The CRJ's cockpit voice recorder has now been downloaded and read out. And that also did have some water intrusion, and they were able to fix that. And as I expect that they will be able to with the Blackhawks helicopter. Information that came off the recorder includes some information I'm going to read. 2045, 27 is all local times. CRJ autopilot was kicked off at 20:46:01. ATC makes Pat 25 aware of the CRJ south of the Wilson Bridge. That's where the PSA aircraft was coming from. At 20:46:29, they had their 1,000-foot call out on the CRJ. At 20:47:29, a 500-foot call out on the CRJ. At 20:47:39, ATC asked Pat 25 if they have the CRJ in sight. 20:47 and 40 seconds, traffic oral alert sounds. 20:47:42, the DCA tower directs Pat 25 to pass behind the CRJ. 20:47:58, the CRJ crew has a verbal reaction and the airplane begins to increase its pitch. At 20:47:59, there sounds of impact. There are 5 air traffic controllers that were on duty in the DCA tower during the time of the accident. 1 controller working local, so that was fixed wing and helicopter traffic, and that's what we would call tower on the frequency. 1 ground controller, 1 local assistant controller, and 1 supervisor in training. And that's the update from Flight Radar 24. Okay, we're going to look at a few things with the Washington Reagan Airport here, get some quick descriptions of what we have going on at this airport. It sits on the Potomac River, just south of Washington, D.C., has 3 runways, 2 of which are used mostly during the day, and then 1 it's a bit of a stray runway for its use. It doesn't get a great deal of use. Runway 119 is the primary runway that has the instrument landing system. It's the low visibility runway. It's the longest runway there. It's around 8,000 feet. You have runway 1533. That is the one that's up to the north and angled across. That one is used primarily by regional aircraft. Occasionally gets used by the larger aircraft when there's some gusty winds out of the northwest, and that is about a 5,000-foot runway. The parking for the PSA aircraft is at the north end of the airport, so the switch over to runway 33 for them would have been a convenient option. It's a very standard operation. We did this all the time when I was flying out of the Washington Reagan, that we would even request it, and allows us to use that runway, roll to the end, turn, and we're basically right immediately into our parking locations. And it avoids a lot of complexity for us. And it was comfortable landing for us in the CRJ. The CRJ-7 has even better performance than when I flew. Off to the east side of the river is Joint Base Anacostia Bowling, which is where the CRJ would circle out over that area of land to the east side of the river and make the turn in. You'll notice on this picture the 295, that's an interstate that runs up on the east side, and that is right at the edge of a hill, and which can't, it's a little hard to tell in this picture, but that's rising terrain, so it does kind of constrain the movement out to the east, because you don't want to get too close to that hill just in case you would set off the ground proximity system. And you don't really need to get there because you can make a nice easy turn into runway 33. So moving into the other complexities here, and this is a very busy chart. This is the helicopter route chart for Washington, and it depicts the different helicopter routes that are used by all the military services, and all 4 services fly in and out of here on a regular basis because it is the nation's capital. The Pentagon is just to the northwest of Washington Reagan. And then you have the presidential support aircraft are going in and out of P-56, which is the area right up there. If you see the depiction of the Washington Monument, the White House is just to the north of that. And they're operating in and out of there. Plus, you have the DC Metropolitan Police and the Park Service, police helicopters, plus at least 3 different companies that were operating in and out of the hospitals, major hospital systems in the Washington, D.C. area. And there are several trauma centers that they're in and out of on a regular basis, utilizing these routes. These routes all have altitude restrictions on them, and they get considerably lower as they come in closer to Washington to avoid conflict with obviously the aircraft going in and out of Washington Reagan. The aircraft in question from the Army was conducting an operation coming down Route 1 to the northwest along the river, and they were getting progressively lower. And as they moved along next to Washington, D.C. proper, what everybody thinks of it, in the Washington Monument and stuff, they would have been down at 200 feet and cut across what's called a tidal basin just to the south of the Washington Monument, and then tracked along and transitioned over by Bolling Air Force Base to the right at the east bank of the river, but over the water, and joined with Route 4 heading south, which is towards Fort Belvoir, which is where they were based, would have been the conclusion of their flight. And this is a very complex set of airspace in terms of how traffic flows in and out of here. And you can see in this depiction that it is very busy. Blue on this one, again, is outbound traffic, but underneath that is a bunch of yellow. Essentially, the blue and yellow would overlay going into 1533. And you see the primary tracks going in and out of runway 119 and 1533. And then notice all the red is all the helicopters. So you can tell there is a lot of stuff going on at this airport.
And we're back. Thanks for that, John. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you've said that you've done this approach quite a few times yourself.
Probably hundreds.
Wow.
Literally, probably hundreds. It's a very it's complex, but you do it enough where it becomes second nature. I mean, that whole airport in itself is a it's a qualifications airport. So if you're a junior pilot under 100 hours, you're not even allowed to land there. And then it was definitely when I was a captain, one where I made sure that my pilots that I was going to let fly in there were up to speed on it, or I let's say adjusted how we did our flying for the day so that I was taking those landings. But on this night, it was a very clear night, and the biggest complexity of this was just this traffic merge, and picking up the other aircraft and stuff would have been difficult, certainly for the CRJ crew, because they would have been looking into the city, and the lights on a Blackhawk are on the bottom of the aircraft, so maybe not as obvious if they were out there or not. Plus, it's a pretty demanding a visual approach to come in, make the right amount of correction to swing out to the right, and then make that turn in and stay aligned and be on path. So it's a lot of cross-checking, a lot of in and out with your head. And then this helicopter crew is doing a mission. It's a very complex mission set because it is all low level. They're doing it at night, and they have to be able to do this training because they're there for continuity of government. They're the ones that would potentially evacuate dignitaries, higher military, and that they have to be able to go in and out of there at all times. And we were fine with this stuff a lot through the time I was there. It was always a little bit of a concern for us. It was always on our mind, always a threat. But unfortunately, here it comes up in this really bad accident. There's going to be a lot of questions to be asked. I know that the NTSB has pulled together all the groups. You have the Army, you have the pilots from the union, you have both the FAA and the company being represented. This whole group's going to be pulled together, plus all the others, to get a really good working group. They're going to spend a lot of time looking at the human factor side of this, and we'll see hopefully a good report out of this. But it's going to take probably a while before they really release anything. So we need to all be patient.
I was watching a video online, John, earlier in the week. There was a picture that someone had taken, or video that someone had taken out of a window of an airliner approaching that aircraft during the day, and they'd videoed it because it showed 2 helicopters transiting kind of below them and underneath, and it looked to me on the video really close. Really close.
It's close enough to read numbers.
Yeah.
It is. I cannot emphasize how close the tolerances are here for everything that we do at that airport. Just the basic flying without the helicopters is you can't screw around with at all. We're making our final turns under 500 feet. Pretty much on most of the runways going in there, you're making a little bit of a turn low. The only one that's kind of a standard runway is runway 1. And that's the only one that has the ILS. Everything else, you're usually doing a visual approach into the river visual. Some of the bigger carriers can also do an RNAV approach into 1.9, but it still results in a low altitude turn. They're just able to do it with some instrument guidance. And then you toss in the helicopters from all the services that are transiting through there, plus the police operations, because you have multiple police operators in there, and there's stuff moving all over the place. And it's a big leagues airport. There's no minor leagues in this one.
There's a comment in the chat room, John. If we had Armando here as well, he'd probably chime in on this as well. But there's a comment in the chat room from Master of None, says the Black Hawk pilots were also wearing night vision goggles, playing with their depth perception and visibility.
So that has not been confirmed yet. That is a suspicion that they were possibly on night vision. Armando and I did have a little bit of chat, and he confirmed what I expected. There is no depth perception with those. They have to compensate by certain things they're trained to do to try and figure out depth. But the night vision definitely would play a thing, and that's something I think they'll probably spend a lot of time hopefully trying to figure out if they were or were not on them. And maybe if they were on them and that was something they think is a factor, then maybe there's going to be a procedural change that they use in that area. But also we know that those helicopter pilots in the military need to be able to use night vision and need to be able to be extremely comfortable and have a lot of experience with it. But now when they're playing with jets and stuff like this, it's just an extra challenge for them.
Richard Adams has got a question in the chat room as well, John. He says, is there any particular time at night when it goes noticeably quieter for civilian traffic?
10 o'clock is kind of the start of the quiet hours. Some planes will still land in there after 10 o'clock. And it's like 10 to 6 is kind of when you get a few of the flights in there. Usually the ones that are running late. Departures stop pretty much generally at 10 unless they're running late because of weather or mechanicals. And the arrivals all dwindle off real quick. There's just a few flights that come in, say, until midnight. And then
but does that kind of... Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there. But do those times kind of not coincide with the amount of helicopter traffic that's floating around the area? Because, busy times and
might reduce it some. The military will do a lot of practicing at night too. There are things that happen at night in the DC area I won't discuss. Let's put it that way. Secret stuff. Some secret stuff happens.
Yeah, it's like you said earlier though, John. There's going to be a massively long investigation with this, and I know as much as the president over there said he wants this all kind of done and dusted within, a month or whatever. I think he said in one of his press conferences.
Yeah, but I might have voted for Trump, but I don't agree with Trump on everything. And this is going to be one of those ones I'm going to say no. They will not rush on this, and I don't want them to rush on this. They'll have basic information out probably in this first month. They'll spend extensive amount of effort to get there. The military will actually have a report out in a month because they have to.
Yeah, they
have a month timeline on their safety report. I think if the Army does the same as the Air Force and Navy, but the NTSB will not. The changes that need to occur, some of the stuff probably starts. They need to really be looking at stuff and analyzing whether or not the whole system is safe. Are they missing something? Are there questions that need to be asked? So, Trump's a salesman. He does a lot of talking as a habit from negotiations. So just don't stress on that.
Before I was going to say, before we move on, there, Rich. Hello to Rick Bell. He's in the chat room. Hello to you. Good to see you in there, Rick. Not seen you for ages. He makes a comment in the chat room and says, we talk about night vision goggles. If there is no relative movement of the aircraft lights in the windscreen under night vision goggles, the aircraft lights will probably just wash out in the cultural lighting.
Oh, hopefully Armando shows up.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what that means, though. What do you mean by that?
Oh, hello.
Oh, hi.
Oh, look.
Hello. It sounds like it's working then. Good. Hello.
Yeah. Cultural. What he's talking about is the cultural lighting. Is the buildings, the other lights that are normally there, and if the aircraft is not having motion in the window or in their screens in the goggles, that it would not maybe stand out as being an aircraft versus a building or a lamppost or a tower light, because it's just a white or green phosphorus screen that they're looking into. So, but again, that's like where we need Armando, because he's used them and I have not.
I kind of want to ask a question about what do you think would be something that you would like to change about the whole airport system, and that approach from a pilot's point of view, from someone who's done it hundreds of times? Is there things that you see that would inherently improve the safety very quickly and easy changes to do, or are these changes that really have to be studied in detail before they can be implemented?
I think what they've done initially, the first thing that has happened, and I didn't put it up in here because I was trying not to make this a huge long video. They have done a temporary restriction on operations, essentially along that core section by the river. So from the Woodrow Wilson Bridge to the south up into just up to where the south end of Washington, DC hits the river. And they've restricted that with the exception of medical flights, that kind of stuff. I think that's a quick fix to keep the helicopters out from there. I don't want to go too far with it. I mean, I think one of the things Dallas would be looking at would be, can they change that route? There is I-295 just to the east that they could maybe move over to top of that. I don't know what problems that would incur too, because the power lines, terrain, height of the terrain over there is higher. The accident investigator in me wants to keep my mouth shut, so I'm going to stop there.
I mean, it must be sort of really frustrating because, of course, we've all made our own opinions, if you like, about what we think has sort of happened here. I guess it's so early in the journey, isn't it? I mean, we shouldn't be guessing at this point, should we?
It is. I mean, I've reached out to the pilot union that represents them, told me I know over there, and shared information I have from my work when I was doing safety work there. So that's one reason I want to keep quiet. And I want them to be able to do their work. I didn't want anybody judging me when I was doing my accident investigation. I don't want to do anything that seems at all judgmental of what they're doing. So excuse me when I keep my mouth quiet in this case.
Yeah.
No, I think that's good. I mean, we're not here to speculate ourselves. We're kind of just more presenting the facts. I
mean, there's lots of stuff involved there. I mean, the airports constantly had aircraft operations increased. It's a slot restricted airport, and they keep putting more airplanes in there. The location's horrible in terms of airspace and terrain and buildings. There's all kinds of stuff. There's just lots to look at, and Congress is involved. So that's
what could possibly go wrong when there are politicians involved, eh?
Yeah. I mean, I go back to 9/11, and my father was in charge of security for a building that has 5 sides, and he was trying to get the runway that was involved in this accident closed permanently, and Congress said no, basically. So that's there's been lots of challenges to this airport over the years, and can you operate in and out of there? Yes. Is it the best airport to operate out of from a safety perspective? No. Yeah. I mean, this one hits home to me. I mean, it kind of makes my stomach sink every time I start talking about this, just because of having operated out of there for so many years, having wanted to fly out of there as a kid, and seeing this happen, and something that seems senseless. It's just painful to watch. And then ironically, the only other major accident I know of at that airport happened in January as well, when we had Air Florida Palm 90 flight go into the river.
Oh yeah,
as well on a departure out of there. So kind of weird.
No, we don't speculate on the show. That's why we have pilots like yourself on, John, to give us your truthful and honest thoughts on stories like this. And we also have pilots on the show, such as Armando, don't we?
Hey, team. Hi, John. It's good to see you.
Cadet. Save me from night vision questions.
Okay. So I hadn't been watching. I was on a different meeting, but what were the questions? Because that was actually the only thing that I had originally to assure, is that it is very difficult, right? So, and the question is still out there whether they were wearing. So we always wear NVGs; they're just either flipped up or flipped down on the helmets. But the depth perception under NVGs is near zero. These guys would have probably had the new white phosphorus, newest generation NVGs being in the unit that they were in. But even then, so I know there was a lot of speculation, right? Of like, oh, they must have been looking at the airplane behind, or they must have been looking at something else. Rest assured that from the military standpoint, they were probably much like from the air traffic controller standpoint, where it's DC, right? It's only the best of the best go there. These kinds of units up there, only the best of the best people are chosen. They're selectively manned units. They're very good at what they do. They're very qualified at what they do. And it is easy under night vision goggles to mistake lights for something else, or very difficult to judge distance. So they may have actually had the correct airplane in sight, but it's really hard to judge distances, right? Because a tower looks the same as an airplane does under night vision goggles. And also, under NVGs, you can see a cigarette butt, the lit end, that shows up like a glowing light from 5 miles away if you're flying out in the desert. So they're very, very sensitive, and bright lights like landing lights would almost
white it out, I suppose.
It would almost white it out, yeah. And they've got cutout features when there's extremely bright lights right into the NVGs, where they actually shut down. So that's not ideal. But that would be my biggest question. I'm not here to, like John was just saying, I'm not here to criticize anybody or anything. It's just a terrible accident. But that would be one of my questions that I would want to know is were they actually under NVGs at the time?
What's it like to wear those under and fly at the same time? I know there's obviously a new version of these. Are they quite heavy, or are they very cumbersome, or?
Yeah, no, they're pretty heavy. It's like 8 pounds total, with the helmet. I have my helmet down there, but the helmet alone is just very cumbersome. And then you have the NVGs themselves probably weigh about 2.5 pounds, but you can't have 2.5 pounds, 10 centimeters away from your eyes, because your head would always. So you actually have another 2 to 3 pounds on the back side of your helmet that is counterbalancing that. So your battery pack is on the back of the helmet, while your NVGs are on the front of the helmet. And the whole time, you're pulling G's, whether it's 1.5 Gs, much less 2 Gs. Every time you move your head, every time you do a maneuver, you move the cyclic in one way or another, or the stick, that's creating a weight, a moment out here that's a good 6 inches away from your face. So it tends to want to pull your head in different directions.
Well, we shall wait to hear what happens when I suppose in the NTSB will release kind of their findings in a full report, I'd imagine, in the not too distant future. But yeah, I hope that was informative to everyone who watches the show. You know, our own, well, John and Armando's perspective on that incident. But yeah, thanks guys, and thanks John for putting the video together. And yeah, welcome Armando. Good to see you on the show.
Yeah, happy to be back. Like John said, we both grew up in that area. I used to sit at Gravelly Point also with my dad, sitting there watching airplanes take off and land out of Washington National Airport. So it does hit a little bit closer to home, and we're both from the Northern Virginia area, so sad.
Right, so shall we move on to the next story? John J, Mr. Jester, would you like to take the next one? It's kind of your neck of the woods as such.
Sure, this is from aerotime.aero. Embry-Riddle launches graduate program in airline and airport management. As of January 2025, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University's worldwide campus has opened enrollment for 2 new graduate programs, the MS in Airline Management and the MS in Airport and Air Mobility Management. Available online through the College of Business, these programs are designed for students with the aviation industry who are looking to launch or advance their careers. The COB currently enrolls nearly 5,000 students, more than 1,600 of whom are pursuing graduate degrees. The MS in Airline Management will provide students with technical skills in pricing, revenue management, technical operations, sustainability, regulations, route planning, and more. The MS in Airport and Air Mobility Management allows students to explore complex airport administration, gain expertise in operations, and navigate evolving laws and regulations to advance their knowledge and skills alongside the industry developments. These 30-credit-hour programs include a 15-hour co-shared curriculum through the first courses taken upon program enrollment. This collaboration promotes collective knowledge, enabling students from both programs to gain a deep and well-rounded understanding of the interconnectedness, influence, and impact of airlines, airport, and the evolving world of mobility. The most recent surveyed alumni from the graduate program of the COB report a replacement rate of 97% within 1 year of graduation, highlighting the preparedness of Embry-Riddle graduates who pursue advanced education or career development opportunities. Well, that must have been written by their communications department.
And I'm quite excited because the company that I currently work for, because we were owned by the US, we done lots of work on that building. So every time that comes up in our reports and stuff, I think, oh, please give me a chance to go over it, because I really need to see this building to make sure it's, up to code, as you'd say.
Riddle does a lot of good things. They have their 2 in-person campuses, one in Daytona Beach and one in Arizona, Prescott, Arizona. And then this online thing, and they do a lot of work with the military for degree programs, and they have good stuff there. And they do support a lot of investigatory work. They're doing a lot of support work for safety and general aviation with FOQA programs and stuff. And so this kind of stuff is good. And this is to buff it up so that you go be a manager in the airline or get a job at the airport.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? What's FOQA?
FOQA, operations quality assurance.
What now?
How to scare yourself when you start looking at somebody else's flying. That's what that is.
That's all right.
They're not the only. Go on.
I was just going to say I have a similar slightly. So when I open my office door, because I do call quality assessment, so it's exactly like what you're talking about, of course, but to do with sort of like that. And I open the door and like literally the whole call center goes silent when I walk in. It's just like, oh, scary.
Well, so in the airline world
scary?
we do it. In the airline world we do this after the fact, so they don't know we're looking at them.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see stuff gets brought up, and I get brought in every once in a while. I look at something and I'm like, they did what? How'd they do that? Why did they do that? oh my gosh, that scared the hell out of me. So, yeah, there are
What were
those
you going to say,
things.
John?
I was going to say that it's actually a course that's starting up in the UK too, because Farnborough Airport has joined up with Farnborough College of Technology, and they're going to do airport operations courses as well. So if people are interested in the UK, they're just launched. They launched about 10 days ago.
Yeah.
Or so, and going to do almost exactly the same thing. Although this is not a graduate program. This is I'm not even sure if it's an undergraduate program. It's a program within the College of Technology down in Farnborough as well. So
basically, what you're saying, John, is the fact that if you're my age, no, don't bother.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that you can ever be too late into getting into these sorts of skills.
Okay.
And life experience definitely is going to help you running an airport, because there's no two ways about it. It's a huge job. Yeah.
John, to be fair, Carlos would turn up to an envelope opening as long as it involved an aeroplane in some way or another.
Yeah, I'd do that. I'd happily do that.
Yeah.
I'll go around and clean the wheels on the aircraft if that's a job going anywhere.
I mean, the one thing I would say is you do a very thorough job
of
that.
I would do a damn good job cleaning aircraft. That is true.
I'm actually surprised you haven't embarked on one of these. I feel like every year, twice a year on the show, we talk about some new hiring scheme. There's never ages associated with that, Carlos. You could go down to Stansted and work anywhere on the airfield.
I do have a small confession to make actually on that front, because I did actually apply to be cabin crew once. Not that long ago.
On a 757?
I don't know where to begin to tell you what's wrong with that.
That's one way to get over your fear.
We don't have time for that. And the reply email that I got back was that I was not the correct fit for the airline, which I think is a polite way of saying you're too old and fat. Essentially, I think that's where they were going with that. But,
I tell you what,
in a polite, non-HR kind of way.
You should not apply to Singapore then.
Ah, right, okay.
I was gonna say you can come to the US.
Oh yeah,
really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All jokes aside,
we don't have those rules are not legal here.
No.
Here it's,
I didn't think they were here either, but apparently they are.
I did genuinely about 3 or 4 years ago look at a job at our local airport here at London Norwich Airport. And
London Norwich,
I know.
Oh, dear Lord.
And the jobs on offer, there was 3 jobs there that I could have easily walked into with the qualifications that I've got and with a forklift license.
Wait, stop there. You have qualifications?
I do, yeah, I know.
What in? Car cleaning? What?
Do you know what the one thing that put me off?
Right.
And you probably know what I'm going to say. The salary was awful. And by awful, I mean it was barely above the minimum wage here in the UK. So, yeah.
It could be a sim instructor in Cambridge.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Just need to be a pilot first.
I was going to say, it has to be qualified to do that first. I think there's the immediate stumbling block.
Right, shall we
I've actually just looked at the Farnborough course. And I'm looking at this and it says under fees, it says tuition costs £0.
Oh.
I'm not entirely sure if that's correct.
Right.
But if
it's in print, I mean,
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
If it's advertised, they have to sell it
and
at
the
that
course
price.
starts Monday, March 3rd, 2025. There's 10 places on the course. You need to have a UK's driver license and hold A levels or advanced apprenticeships or advanced. You need to have basically done some other qualification.
All right, let's just move on now.
You're going to have to give up your Malta driving license and get a UK one again, I think, Carlos.
Oh dear. Oh well. The thought was nice anyway. But yeah.
So
thanks for that,
press
John.
on because I want to get John's take on story 4.
Right, John. Let's go, producer John. Producer John, can you do the next one? Is that all right?
Okay, so very quickly, this is about Lufthansa and the 777X. So Lufthansa are going to get their first, or it will get the first 777X when Boeing finally delivers the new jet in 2026. CEO Kelly Ortberg said in an earnings call this week that the German carrier would get the first plane next year, but that Boeing continued to have seat challenges. And we don't know what those challenges are for Lufthansa deliveries, he added. The Boeing 777X is an upgraded, modernized version of the world's best-selling wide-body jet, and that includes a wider, more spacious cabin while taking advantage of technology used for the 787 Dreamliner. A key feature is the folding wingtips, and the wings can fold up while on ground, allowing it to fit at more airports. Yeah, I mean, they've got orders from British Airways, Emirates, Singapore, about 500 orders placed for the jet. And it was targeting an entry into service in 2020, but it's still in the test flighting phase. And they were paused in August, but they resumed earlier this month. Ortberg said in October the first delivery was expected in 2026 rather than this year. And in the third quarter earnings report, Boeing said that the latest 777X setback would cost $2.6 billion. Oof. That's just for the latest setback, which is absolutely insane. I think 2026 is very optimistic, but I hope.
John, being our resident Boeing pilot here, what are your thoughts on the 777X?
A lot of green ones sitting in Seattle, not doing anything. And I mean, it's a nice plane. I think it should be great once it gets going. But Boeing has got such a problem with getting their act together. You know, I feel they're going to be behind for such a long time with this. And I don't know. I think it'll be good. I mean, 777, I love the airplane. I've always loved it since it first came out. The new one, the performance looks stellar. The range, the folding wingtips is pretty cool, but man, they're just taking forever on these things.
Right. Should we move on to the next thrilling story then? And do you want me to take? Shall I take this one, or do you want this one, Armando? Do you fancy this one?
Sure, I can take it.
Yeah, go
on. So this one is from SundayWorld.com. A Ryanair Boeing 737 and a Cessna were involved in a near-miss incident at Cork Airport at the height of the holiday season last summer, sparking a major investigation. The Ryanair passenger flight to Manchester and the Cessna, which was a training plane, Cessna 172, were cleared for takeoff by air traffic control within 2 minutes of each other on intersecting runways at Cork Airport on Friday, July 26th of last year. The potential for collision was averted when the Cessna 172 took a hard right on takeoff, steering the plane away from the Ryanair Boeing. At one point, the aircraft were less than 100 feet apart in distance, at altitude, according to a synopsis of the event by AirNav Ireland. The Air Accident Investigation Unit launched an investigation into this incident, which continues. The AAIU logged the incident as a possible loss of separation, that is a breach of international regulations on the minimum safe distance between the aircraft. Now, according to the account of the incident, the Cessna was on a training flight from Waterford to Cork, for a touch and go before returning to Waterford. The touch and go, as we know, is a maneuver in training or in real life where an aircraft lands and takes off without making a full stop. At 5:34 p.m., the airborne Cessna 172 got clearance from air traffic control for the touch and go on runway 25, which is perpendicular to the main runway. At the same time, a Ryanair passenger plane was taxiing along the main runway, 16 preparing for takeoff. At 5:36 p.m., air traffic control cleared the Ryanair aircraft for takeoff. As it began its takeoff roll, ATC realized that the 172 was executing a touch and go on the adjacent runway. Air traffic control then instructed the Ryanair Boeing to stop immediately, but it did not stop. The flight crew did not hear the instruction. With the 172 now taking off from the perpendicular runway, ATC instructed its pilot to brake right from the Ryanair airplane. let's see, Ryanair flight rolled through the intersecting runway on takeoff. They managed to not hit each other, and it is understood that both flights continued their flights to their destinations. So this is interesting. I think there was some CCTV footage. There was a analysis slide that I think Matt put up there. But we've had, or some. I saw something on the YouTube. But
there we go. There we go. I'll pop it back up for you, Armando. There we go.
Yeah. So that there's this happens when here in the U.S., especially with low cost carriers going into smaller airports. So, for example, Breeze, Allegiant, Avelo, Sun Country. A big part of their model is to go into smaller, not Class B major airports. So here in Concord, North Carolina, where I live, now we are getting to the point where we have close to 500 operations of transport category aircraft with Avelo and Allegiant. Yet it remains one of the busiest training airports in North Carolina. With I think last year was close to 80,000 GA operations. So now we're starting to mix a lot of general aviation and training traffic with 737s and Airbuses at a lot of these airports that Breeze, Allegiant, and over there Ryanair, EasyJet go to. It makes for an interesting little mix of aircraft. I know for me flying corporate, I tend to fly into not Class B airports. So I tend to fly into smaller, either regional or municipal airports in our jet. And we are always on the lookout for other aircraft, especially training aircraft. But I've lost count of how many traffic advisories I receive flying. So, for example, one of our common flights is Concord, North Carolina to North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Both of those are single runway training airports with lots of GA traffic. And we do that at 10,000 feet. So I get TAs and RAs all the time in the airplane, in the jet. It's not just something we practice in the sim. But I wanted to get John's take on, does it just not mix in your kind of flying at all, or?
Yeah, we get this every once in a while. A few airports we operate in and out of, where we'll have training aircraft. We used to go into Huntsville quite a lot, and Huntsville has the lovely thing from going from Class C to Class G. So you go fully uncontrolled there, and 747, and that gets everybody sucking up the seat pads going in there, even if it's midnight, because there's somebody out there doing something training wise. And that's a busy airport for a lot of military training going on. And I've gone in there at midnight in the 7-4, and there's an Army citation doing night touch and goes on the other runway, and we're like, hey, we're going to join a 6-mile final. Maybe don't be out here, and we're going to go to the space shuttle runway. So
yeah,
please use the other runway. But in the RJ, we used to go in and out of Charlotte and over to eastern North Carolina, a bunch of different airports over there. Yeah, I got really good at doing RAs out of there, and I used to come out of New Bern area. I can't remember the airport, and I'd put the plane on its tail to get up to 10,000 feet before I would accelerate at all past 200 knots, because I just wanted to get out of Indian country.
Yeah.
And you prayed for really low, really just nasty weather, because then everybody went away.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the guys from opposing bases, and they always talk about the days where there's just a little bit of clouds being the worst, because then they get all the training flights coming out there trying to do a little instrument training and trying to mix in with all the jets, and it just works you hard. Yeah, I don't know. I was cringing when you started talking about this story, and I'm listening to this, and you started talking about what you did. I was cringing over here in my seat, because it just makes me uncomfortable. Especially now, 7.4s. I'm just afraid I'd run somebody over and kill them. Honestly, without ever seeing them.
With the size of 7.4, John, yeah, I've seen that picture, iconic picture you see on there on YouTube and online, with the little Cessna on the runway, and then they've got that big 747 behind, taxiing behind. It's hilarious.
For us, an A320 looks small to us.
Yeah, so I was just about to say that. So I fly a lot into Birmingham, and your airline flies the 747 to Birmingham, and a lot of times it's that Dash 8, and we will sit there at the end of the runway, and we will delay our takeoff just to watch you guys land, like because we're airplane nerds too. Me and my co-captain Tony, we would rather leave 10 minutes late just to be able to sit there and watch you guys land. And we literally look like a Cessna 172 compared to that jet.
That's the thing, though. When I don't know if I mentioned I went out to Dubai. I don't know if that ever came up in conversation.
Did you?
Yeah, I know. Shocking, isn't it? But I remember being at Heathrow and looking out the window, and I sort of like I'd seen the 380 before because the Highliner one, what was it? High Fly,
yeah.
Yeah, High Fly was at Farnborough when we went to that. Because there wasn't really much around it in terms to do like a contrast. So, and there was a 320 and an A380 basically on like stands next to each other, and it genuinely took me completely by surprise just how vast the 380 is in comparison to what to me looked like a big plane before, which was the 320.
Well, if you take a Dash 8. The length of a Dash 8 is longer than the first flight of a powered airplane that the Wright brothers did. I mean, that's
pretty
fair.
Aviation has come a long way.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not to be messed with. I mean, we're taking off on an average flight nowadays because we're getting really heavy cargo loads lately. I'm carrying, like the other day I took off out of China at 446.5 tons, at 124 tons of cargo inside the airplane.
Sorry, it's my fault. I keep ordering stuff from those.
It's you and your Temu shopping.
I know.
That's the trouble.
But I mean, most people don't fathom the weights that are involved and everything that's involved with that. And like just for us to make a U-turn, you're talking 10 miles of airspace to basically usually to make it for us to turn around. I run about a 3.5 mile wide final or downwind leg if I'm flying really, really tight. Normally it's like 5. And so if I turn around, and that's at approach speeds, if I'm flying anything close to 250 knots, it's 10, 15 miles for me to make a U-turn.
Uh-huh.
So people don't think about this. The momentum and weights are incredible. Let's keep going on.
Yeah. I'm yet to see anything like that taxi in front. I think the last time that I had an exciting experience was when I went out with Stuart, Matt, do you remember, at the flying that we done at Beccles?
Remember it? I've never been so terrified in my entire life. I just thought this is how it all ends.
It's just the size of that helicopter we flew in is just so tiny. It's like half the size of a Cessna 150. But it did rip along, to be fair.
I did not enjoy you being a passenger in that. I'm not going to lie, and yet I have all the faith in the entire world that Stuart is an incredible pilot.
Yeah.
But that did not look right.
But it's good.
I still maintain what I say. Like it's like helicopters. They're not made in a factory. They're made at Hogwarts. There's no way that those things should fly. They defy physics. They basically beat the air into submission.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's definitely put to words flying by the seat of your pants into perspective when you're sitting in the helicopter and 200 or 300 feet above the ground, whizzing along below you. But
No, I would have to wear a nappy. It's just it's just not happening for me.
God, imagine.
Well, do we think the next
whatever it is that you're going to say,
320 going,
whatever it is that you're going to say, no,
as Eurofighters.
Okay,
yeah, Max.
Going to go buzzing around the ground at 200 feet.
Matt, do you want to take this next story? I've got some good pictures for this. Now, this next story is for the benefit, really, of not only commercial, but also Jonathan Warner as well. He'll love this. So there's a bit of grey stuff as well.
Yeah, indeed. The source on this one is simpleflying.com. And the headline is the Airbus A320 serving as a Eurofighter Typhoon nose cone testbed. Read on, shall we? The Airbus A320 is a prolific medium-range passenger jet that is used by many airlines all over the world. The German Aerospace Centre spelt wrong, A320 Advanced Technology Research Aircraft, ATRA, is a uniquely reconfigured variant of the A320. Based on the CEO variant, the short body, it has just recently been fitted with a proxy Eurofighter Typhoon nose cone. This modification is intended to turn the A320 into a real-world testing environment for the new ECRS Mark II radar systems that will be installed on the Typhoons. The European Common Radar System, the ECRS Mark II, is a joint research and development project by BAE Systems and Leonardo. Leonardo's sensor integration specialists are working alongside BAE Systems, who will manage the design, development, manufacturing and install on the UK's Typhoon fleet, the first jets expected to receive it. Leonardo oversees the primary sensor and new electronic warfare EW systems, including the radar and the subsystems, which is expected to be a leap in capabilities. Retrofitting the A320 with a fighter nose cone is a more efficient approach to the testing cycle, thanks to less time on the ground assembling or modifying a Eurofighter for the same tasks. The cabin space of the A320 also offers ample room for test personnel and data gathering equipment, facilitating immediate in-flight data processing. The special A320 enables consistent iterative trials that develop real-time feedback on hardware and software of the new active electronically scanned array radar that will eventually make it to the vast majority of Typhoons in active service. This unique approach has the advantage of using a low cost per hour commercial aircraft to provide extensive testing for a crucial new cutting edge fighter radar without running up costs or putting hours on valuable airframes that could be used for other missions. Adapting the Eurofighter's nose cone onto an A320 airframe doesn't just look funny to the rest of us. It's a unique technical challenge that requires expert technicians and engineers to make it possible. The reward is that the Eurofighter program can perform frequent, extensive tests to evaluate how the radome materials, sensor apertures and other system functions perform in the air without putting a high-performance jet in the air. The A320-232, registered as Delta Alpha Tango Romeo Alpha, has been the largest test aircraft in service of the German Airspace Centre since its introduction in 2008. The Advanced Technology Research Aircraft, the ATRA, was conceived and built to be a flexible, modern flight, open architecture, i.e. modular platform. Since it first began its career, the ATRA has set new benchmarks for aerial test vehicles in Europe.
Part of me wishes that I'd have chosen this, Matt, for the caption this just for fun picture of the week. I didn't put one up this week, but producer John, we've had some comments in the YouTube chat room, haven't we?
Yeah, I really like Dirk S's comment. A320 just wants to gain attention, cosplaying as a foon. Darren Smith says A320 Pinocchio, master of none. I'm a real fighter jet.
Oh, nice. Loving the delivery on that one, John. Excellent. Yeah.
What,
I'm a real boy.
What are your thoughts on this, Armando, this interesting looking vehicle?
Oh, you guys, this has actually already been done for a while. There's a 757, the Catfish, that they've been doing this for, 30 years or so. It's always been a test bed for the nose cones and different airfoils. on aircraft. So it's pretty cool. I mean, it's new.
We're just trying to
it was
catch
the
up
last
with
two
you.
words that Matt said there at the end of the story, which is in Europe.
In Europe, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
All right,
Calm down.
all right, Armando. Just because you done it first.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
Hey, there's a lot of things
I wouldn't
that
be
you guys
surprised if
had
he's
first.
flown
Like,
one.
yeah, no, I had a fun one. You guys had everything else first. You had Jersey, York, Suffolk,
Exactly.
Hampshire. You had all our states first.
Yeah. Right, John Jester, would you like the next story? I've got some pictures for this as well. All about kind of an update on the Air Busan 321.
Oh, yeah, this one scares me. All right, flight from flightglobal.com. Fire damaged Air Busan A321 inspected after decision not to remove fuel. Korean investigators probing the Air Busan Airbus A321 fire at Gimhae Airport have started an on-site inspection of the aircraft, having opted against removing the fuel beforehand. The aircraft, which was preparing for departure to Hong Kong on 28 January, suffered extensive damage to its fuselage. That's an understatement. It had been docked at International Apron Stand 55L, which, according to the Aeronautic Information Publication for Gimhae, is almost adjacent to the fire station located just 150 meters to the south. While the wings were untouched, the aircraft's tanks were loaded with 16,300 kilograms, 35,900 pounds of fuel, presenting a potential explosion hazard to investigators. Korean accident investigators carried out a risk assessment in cooperation with the French counterparts and other specialized agencies, including a safety check of the fuselage and cargo compartment. Although the decision was made not to drain the fuel, other components such as the oxygen tanks have been removed and passenger baggage retrieved from the cargo hold. As a result, the Korean Transport Ministry says the on-site inspection commencing on 3 February collected evidence was photographed, cataloged, classified, and visually analyzed. It adds, this evidence will be transferred to investigative facilities for identification and examination. It is expected that it will take a considerable amount of time to complete, the ministry says. Members of a fire investigation committee are conducting preliminary work to determine the cause of the blaze, including gathering statements from witnesses, CCTV footage, and information from flight recorders. Investigators will carry out a 3D imaging of the A321. Once completed, the airframe will be covered by a tent for protection. All 176 passengers and crew members escaped the fire with only minor injuries sustained during the evacuation. And they were lucky because that was a big fire.
Just pop the picture up there again for you, John, actually, and for all the people on YouTube as well. I think you can see that, John, can't you? The picture on the...
Gosh, that just makes my skin crawl. This is the thing that scares the daylights out of me because I'm constantly carrying this kind of stuff on my plane, and yeah, we don't have anything to fight it, just as they didn't on that. In that case, these lithium batteries could just wreak havoc. I find it interesting that story where they're making a big deal about the fuel, because jet fuel is pretty hard to ignite. You pretty much have to vaporize it to get it to burn. You can toss a match in it, so most of the time it will go out. It'll put the match out. So that was kind of a bit of a nothing burger, but the cause of the fire, that's going to be interesting to see if we get any changes.
Well, there's one change that's already been implemented, and Airbusan has banned power banks to be carried in cabin baggage.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
You see, I'm not too sure about it either, because it's going to promote people putting it into their check-in luggage and saying, no, I don't have any batteries in the check-in luggage for sure at check-in, and check-in agents just have to take your word for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there are some places around the world which are very good at screening for batteries and not allowing them in checked luggage. India is one of them. They absolutely do not allow any batteries of any kind in checked luggage. And I think that having the batteries in the cabin is just easier to manage I mean, obviously in this case, something went on fire. We don't know what it is, and we don't know that it was a battery. But in the case that it would be a lithium ion fire, you definitely can't do anything about it when it's in the cargo.
Yeah, I agree.
No, the halon will temporarily suppress it, but doesn't put it out because it doesn't take away the heat, and the battery chemistry will generate its own oxygen, which is a major issue you have to deal with in these kind of fires. And when we carry on cargo aircraft, our lower holds have the halon, but our main deck hold, we just depressurize. That's all we have to do with it. So the tests that the FAA have done, probably about 7 years ago, they actually had to stop the test prematurely because they were afraid of losing the airframe that they were using as a test article. Because it was, in both tests they did on a lithium metal and a lithium ion batteries, they actually had to stop the test prematurely. And then you apply like thousands of gallons of water to put the fire out.
Yeah. Yeah, even on our jets, we have the sleeves and the gloves, and then our trash can has been modified to also be a fire containment vessel, I guess.
Do you have those bags, Armando, for the phones? Those special bags?
Yeah, we have about a large laptop sized sleeve for lithium ion fires, and we also have like these big oven mitts because obviously you got to pick it up and put it in there. So should something catch fire in our aircraft, we can pick it up, put it in the sleeve, throw water bottles in it, or just close the sleeve up, and that it will eventually starve itself out. And then you take the sleeve and put it in a trash can, which is fire containment. So it's very much in corporate. It's very much of a threat also.
Do you have a small cargo hold underneath the jet that you fly under? Is that fire suppression system in that, or?
No, the Hawker, the cargo is in the main cabin. Most, I'd say 90% of corporate jets, there's an aft hold underneath the engines, the tail mounted engines. But those are accessible in almost every jet that I've seen. They're accessible from the cabin. You can walk right through the lav, which is generally in the back, right into the cargo hold.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Producer John, do you want the next one? It's all about hydrogen.
Yeah, hydrogen. So this is news that came from the CAA very recently. Exeter Airport selected for next stage of hydrogen challenge. So the Exeter Airport has been selected by the CAA for the second round of its hydrogen challenge, aimed at advancing hydrogen as a zero-carbon aviation fuel. The airport, alongside Cranfield University and TUI, will trial hydrogen-powered ground equipment this spring, including an aircraft tug and a ground power unit, to explore decarbonising airport operations. The initiative focuses on hydrogen propulsion testing and infrastructure development, positioning UK as a leader in the sustainable aviation technology sector. Exeter's airport's participation in the Hydrogen Challenge builds on prior research into hydrogen-powered ground handling equipment, and the second round will address challenges related to hydrogen storage, handling, and on-site production, potentially extending applications beyond aviation as well. The project reflects broader efforts by the UK Civil Aviation Authority to foster sustainable innovation while supporting economic growth. And insight from these trials will inform the future integration of hydrogen technology into airport infrastructure, contributing to the aviation industry's net zero ambitions. And just the Hydrogen Challenge is a CAA-led regulatory challenge. It was launched in November of 2023 to help the aviation industry in the UK achieve the government's Jet Zero strategy. It's funded with nearly £940,000 from the regulator's Pioneer Fund, which is overseen by the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. So that's a bit of good news from the UK.
Hydrogen. Just all I think hear this, John, is that huge hydrogen. How do you put this? Balloon-shaped thing that kept going into the ground. We covered a few.
Oh, that thing.
The flying. The flying bum. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. You remember that one? But no, it's good news.
Yeah, I do.
Good news for Exeter Airport. Anyway, at least it'll give them. Hopefully, it'll bring some jobs there as well. All being well. Now,
absolutely.
Armando, you have got the next story, and it's a business jet story. So obviously, it's going to have to be you.
I'm going to read this story and then I'm going to jump off here before my child gets home from school here. AIN Online, Aviation Information Network, FlexJet orders $7 billion worth of Embraer jets. Embraer executive jets announced today, just this morning, this $7 billion order from FlexJet that includes an order for 182 aircraft. This is a mix of Phenom 300s, Praetor 500s, and 600 mid-sized jets, and options for another 30, as well as enhanced services and support. Deliveries are set to begin next year and run through 2030. It represents FlexJet's largest order in its 3-decade history and will nearly double the size of its fleet by 2031. The two companies have had a long relationship. FlexJet was the original launch customer for the Embraer Legacy 600 in 2003, the Phenom 300 in 2010, the Legacy 450 in 2016, and the Praetor 500 in 2019. The CEO of FlexJet, Michael Silvestro, said since 2003, we have accepted delivery of more than 150 Embraer aircraft. The Praetor 600 was so well accepted in Europe that we opted to include it in our North American fleet in 2023, extending our Embraer fleet across 2 continents. He also noted that the company's pilots and maintenance technicians are intimately familiar with the type and that they are delighted with FlexJet's renewed commitment to Embraer through this comprehensive purchase agreement. The reason I threw this story in there is we don't really talk about Embraer's business and corporate section or division. They are, 1, very good aircraft, 2, surprisingly affordable, and 3, taking over by storm. They are the #1 best-selling corporate jet in the world right now, is all the Embraer products, and they look beautiful. I see them more and more, but FlexJet is basically giving NetJets a run for their money by doubling their fleet here. FlexJet is a full on-demand charter. They do some aircraft management, so there's a little bit difference in that. NetJet's technically a fractional ownership thing, Part 91K. FlexJet is a Part 135 operator, so they're on-demand charter holding out to the public. And this is great. This is continues to show the boom in business aviation and really, really good airplanes. And even our flight department, we were looking at upgrading. Well, our Hawkers are getting a little old. They're close to 20 years old, but we were looking at Textron Citation products, and now we've actually seriously started looking at something like a Praetor for our flight department. So,
well, this is producer John talking. So if anybody who's in Embraer executive jets is listening to the show, we absolutely are open to sponsorship.
Test drives.
Yeah.
If you donate us an aircraft, I volunteer Armando to fly it. We'll be happy to do the advertising for you.
I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah, he's quite good at flying them as well. I can vouch for that.
And
John and I could go. John's
I'll throw the gear for him.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Oh, that's lovely.
I don't mind as long as we get some
merch. That guy
merch.
can work radios and gear like a champ.
Champion, yeah, absolutely.
Long as we get some merch, that's all I'm worried about. Hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts.
You and your merch, honestly, is something else.
I mean, if we're getting a jet, I prefer the jet over the merch.
Yeah, I'm sure if we end up with an Embraer corporate or private jet, we'll probably get a couple of hats. I'll throw those your way.
Yes.
Oh, you're so kind.
Right, we're going to let Armando go now. Big thanks to Armando for joining us tonight. Lovely to have you on board as always. And let you get back to your day. But thanks again, Armando.
Okay, kids, you guys have fun.
See you, Cadet.
Don't burn the show down.
Bye. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Right. We're going to move swiftly on to the next story. We need to push on. It's nearly 8:30, my word. This is global. This is from aviationbusinessnews.com. Global air passenger demand soars to new highs in 2024. The International Air Transport Association has released its full year December 2024 global passenger market performance data showing a record high number for demand for air travel. Total passenger traffic for 2024 measured in revenue passenger kilometres rose by 10.4% compared to 2023, surpassing pre-pandemic levels by 3.8%. Capacity measured in available seat kilometres increased by 8.7%, with overall load factors reaching a record 83.5%. IATA's data showed all regions experiencing growth in international travel. Asia Pacific led the way with 26% rise in international traffic compared to 2023. European carriers saw a 9.7% increase in full-year traffic, with capacity rising by 9.2% and load factors improving to 84.1%. Middle East airlines, recorded a 9.4% increase in annual traffic with an 8.4% rise in capacity and load factors of 80.8%. North American carriers posted 6.8% increase in traffic, though their load factor dipped slightly to 84.2%. Latin American Airlines reported a 14.4% increase in traffic with a load factor of 84.8%, the highest among all regions. And lastly, African Airlines saw a 13.2% increase in traffic, reaching a high record regional high load factor of 74.5%. Just a quick one before we move on. John, have you seen this with a particular airline that you work for, an increase in passenger numbers?
Passenger numbers, yeah, definitely. It's crazy, and the load factors are definitely going up, which is only good news. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if it's the same in cargo. John, are you seeing the same sort of trends?
Yeah, we're getting crushed right now. The amount of movement is still surprisingly high, especially from Asia to the U.S. And we've added even contracts between Asia and Europe back and forth, and we're carrying very high revenue loads across all sectors right now.
Yeah. I mean, and I think those breakdowns from IATA are fairly in line with what we're seeing in the airline as well. Yeah, it's great news. Back to growing passenger transport and cargo transport.
Just quickly, John, the airline that you work for, obviously you do a premium economy kind of part of your service as such. Is that a very popular part, or popular selection, I should say, for passengers other than economy and business class? Is premium a big player for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think in any airline, like premium is premium including first and business class is what's going to make the money and the bread and butter for the passenger airlines. But I think what we're finding after COVID is that the people who are traveling for slightly different reasons, and the premium market is definitely something that's definitely grown since COVID. I think before it was a little bit more business focused, and there was a little bit less leisure than we're having currently. And now there's a lot of leisure travel, and people are starting to go on holidays a little bit more. And I think with that, you're going to get that market for the premium economy, for that kind of upgraded premium experience. So yeah, definitely it's that side of not just our airline, but I mean across the airlines is definitely growing.
Good. Right. That's someone wanna?
I was gonna say it's nice value for money, and I've upgraded myself to that premium economy a few times, going back and forth, and I find it spectacular value for the money. So,
John, you get first class travel whenever you fly, because you are in seat one. Well, technically 1A or 1A, but 1B.
Yeah, zero A. But no, when I ride around quite a bit as a passenger, and I go commute back and forth across the Atlantic that way, and I've taken advantage of that quite a few times. It's been, I think it's good value for the money. It's a nice seat. It's very reminiscent of the older, say 80s, early 90s business class seats, and comfortable, a little bit better food. And so it's pretty nice.
I think a lot of people are paying for experience now more than they're paying for an A to B service. So I think that falls into that category of people. That premium economy definitely falls into that. They want to experience something a little bit more comfortable, travel in a little bit easier and less stressful way. Yeah.
I must admit, even looking now, when we look for long haul flights, I just look to see what the premium economy difference in price is when we book up. So yeah, it's definitely, you do it for the experience, I think, not just the, as you said, get from A to B kind of thing. So right.
Well, the last story I picked out, just in case Matt was going to be on the show.
Me? Oh no.
Go on.
Can you see it? Can you see? Have you got the notes?
His face.
Right.
I hope so.
Jolly good. Yeah. Now the question is how am I going to do it? I'm probably going to be very boring, frankly. AINonline.com is the source on this one, and the headline is Bombardier adding aircraft paint shop at Biggin Hill. Bombardier is expanding its London Biggin Hill service centre with a new 51,000 square foot paint facility set to open in late 2026. The two-bay facility will accommodate two global 750 jets, maintenance and refurbishment offerings in the region. The new paint shop complements the existing 250,000 square foot service centre, aligning with Bombardier's global strategy to improve customer service. Additional projects include sustainability initiatives and expanded maintenance options at nearby Farnborough Airport.
A lovely airport that is as well. He could see it on his voice. He just wanted to say it.
What do you mean? Bombardier!
Yes, lovely pint that is.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, man. And thanks,
always
thanks John, for that, putting that one in. Right, now, we're going to stick with you, Matt, because you're going to introduce the next part of the show. And
what?
Well, I know. That's how we do things here. We just drop it in on the fly. So, Matt, over to you to introduce what is, for many members of our PTUK family, their favourite part of the show.
Okay, brace yourselves then. It's time for it's the time that the world forgot, essentially. We're off to the retro airline ad of the week. This week we go back to 1984 and take a look at an airline who started off life many years before then, but are now so much bigger.
Yep, 1932. Never been so excited. The Olympics were in Los Angeles. Well, sir, my dad and I flew there in a big United Airlines plane. At least we thought it was big then. They served coffee out of a silver urn. I got a big glass of Bosco. What a time we had. Cheering for Babe Didrikson and Eddie Tolan winning the 100. I was yelling my head off. So I figured I'd take my grandson to L.A. in '84 in the same style. Bigger United plane, but same nice people.
How about something to celebrate?
Sky and chocolate milk?
Sounds pretty good to me, too.
United has gotten bigger since we flew to the games in '32, but we're still flying on the same belief.
Grandpa, look!
Making friends and keeping them.
I think we've come to the right place.
You're not just flying, you're flying in the friendly sky.
Official airline of the 1984 Olympics.
I'll tell you one thing that's not got any bigger with the airlines. That's those economy seats. They've got smaller. Do we not think?
Oh yeah, definitely have.
What do you think of that one, John? Do you remember that one?
I remember that those airplanes. I probably loaded that airplane he had in the video there, but yeah, those were good old days back then.
The good old days. Yeah, 1984 Olympics. Word.
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see how they do when they bring the Olympics in a few more years in LA again. So see what's left of it after all these fires. But
Yeah.
Right, now, well, Producer John, since you're here, I'll let you do this bit of work. Can you introduce the next segment on the show?
Are we going to the military?
We are.
Excellent. There we go. We're going to the military.
Well, oh, it's all right, Carl. I'll just press the button.
I hope you don't do that on the radio. Good Lord.
Oh, my word. Right, I'll press the button. Here we go.
Lost up bogeys 135. The Angel 16. Heading 340. Okay. Undersea bogeys.
And the first story this week in the military news is good news for people who watched the first series of this, which I did. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. This is from LincolnshireWorld.com. And Top Guns at the RAF Coningsby are back for a second series of high-flying TV on their show. A revealing glimpse into life at RAF Coningsby is set to be captured by spectacular second series of the high-flying TV show. Top Guns Inside the RAF was a huge success when it was first aired by Channel 4 back in 2023. That's Channel 4 here in the UK. It attracted an average of 1.6 million viewers and was Channel's second biggest 9 p.m. series of that year, behind only The Piano, whatever that is. Now it's back for another 6-show run, taking viewers back into the skies, command centres and hangars as Royal Air Force crews continue to defend Britain from threats at home, the abroad and prevent conflicts. The programme makers were given exclusive access to Coningsby, where 3,000 people work, and also RAF Waddington, its fellow station in Lincolnshire and the county which is renowned for as the spiritual home of Bomber Command. The series returns to the front line as squadrons experience intense and ever-increasing pressure and demands, and it follows pilots, engineers, armourers as they head overseas on deployment to Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean. As tension rises in turbulent world, it's the Royal Air Force's job to intercept Russian fighters approaching NATO airspace, gathering intelligence in the skies close to the Ukraine, or carry out targeted strikes to protect vital shipping lanes in the Red Sea. Viewers can climb inside the cockpits of cutting-edge Typhoon fighter jets and are given bird's-eye impressions of drones conducting precise and critical surveillance over Iraq and remotely piloted aircraft operating from top-secret bases in the UK. So if you want to watch this and you are living in the UK or you have access to our Channel 4, I'm sure Matt will help you if you want to find out how you can do that if you don't live in the UK. You can watch it every Tuesday at 9 p.m. from the 4th of February this year. So it's actually aired yesterday, didn't it? First episode aired yesterday. So you'd have to catch that on 4OD. But yeah, good to see this is back on TV again. The first series I did watch, it was really, really well put together and very interesting indeed as well. So I'm sure Mr. Warner will be watching that. He's apparently Mr. Warner's in the chat room said he was working nights last night, so he missed the first episode. What do you think about this, John? Did you watch the first series of this, John? Jester?
Oh, no. Didn't know about it. Can't watch Channel 4 over here.
Tell you, Matt's the man to ask. He can.
I would have to weasel my way in through one of those fancy technologies and use the player illegally.
Oh, we don't do that. No,
can't do that.
Can't do that. Oh, did you see this one, Matt? Did you know about it on the old telly box?
What do you think?
No, that'd be a
You're
no.
talking
then.
to a person who's not watched, like, who's
you
not
haven't
seen
watched Airplane
and things like that. I mean, come on.
Oh, damn. And that's not even worth me buying you the DVD either, because you haven't got a DVD player. No. Right, John, Jester, do you want to take the next one? Because we're heading over to your neck of or other side of the country, I should say, for this one, to where you fly to quite a bit.
Sure. This is from Netflix.com. A Thunderbird takes you inside a legendary cockpit. Try to play on their announcers. A new documentary film coming this spring will go behind the scenes of a highly esteemed pillar of the United States Air Force, the Air Demonstration Squadron. These pods travel around the country performing extremely difficult and uniquely complex aerial maneuvers in military aircraft in order to showcase both the capabilities of the planes and the demo pilots themselves. For the first time ever, viewers will get the opportunity to sit in the cockpit with the Air Force's legendary flight squadrons, the Thunderbirds. Formed in 1953, the team is both one of the oldest squadrons in the Air Force and one of the oldest formal flying aerobatic teams in the world, demonstrating the power of the F-16 Fighting Falcon fighter jets over 40 years. In Air Force Elite Thunderbirds, audiences will witness the unprecedented training, peril, and personal sacrifice it takes to push the limits of aviation as members of one of America's most revered demonstration teams. I actually look forward to seeing this because I just enjoy watching how they train up. It's a very interesting process. So,
I was going to say, I think I shall be watching this as well. I think didn't they have a series all about the Thunderbirds on, was it Netflix? Didn't they do a series on the Thunderbirds on Netflix?
The Blues.
The Blue. Oh, it was the Blues. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think that is incredible with these teams is their ability to leave their rank outside the window, outside the doors, and their ego outside the doors, and politely tear into one another every time they do a demonstration. Usually tear into themselves, honestly, to get their things right so that they are safe, because what they do is inherently pretty damn dangerous. So,
now, producer John, do you fancy the last story? Caught him off guard there. He's on mute.
No, sorry, I am having a few technical issues.
Okay. Do you want me to take this one? I'll take this one. Tell you what, I'll take this one. GeneralAviationNews.com, commemorative Air Force aircraft to lead victory tour. To commemorate the 80th anniversary of the Allied victory in World War II, Ready for Duty, a US naval World War II era aircraft operated by the commemorative Air Force, is embarking on a transatlantic journey from Texas to Europe. My word, I need some fuel for that. To honour the service and sacrifice of American Allied sailors. Ready for Duty's 12-week, 12,000-mile Navy to Victory tour, which runs from April through to July, includes appearances at over a dozen aviation and ceremonial events across the southern and eastern US, Iceland, the United Kingdom, France, and the Netherlands. Safely operating an 80-year-old aircraft for such an extended journey is no mean feat, said Christopher Volpe, Navy to Victory's tour lead coordinator, but helping to build a lasting legacy for veterans of all the preparation, or makes all the preparations and sacrifices worth it. According to Volpe, the advancing age of World War II veterans, and the youngest of whom are now 97, factored heavily into the decision to conduct this intercontinental tour. The window to honour these men and women while they are still with us is closing rapidly, said Volpe. For the first of their families and society at large, we are committed to paying tribute to them on the 80th anniversary of the Allied victory. The iconic aircraft will also transport artifacts from surviving US World War II era warships such as the USS Yorktown, Battleship Texas, and USS Laffey. During the Navy to Victory tour, the exhibition assembled specifically for this tour marks the first time that artifacts from so many US World War II warships are publicly displayed together, CAF officials have noted. Well, that sounds very nice, John. That's a lovely thing to do.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely an excellent thing for them to come across, but it is a lot of work. When they had the D-Day anniversary, a colleague of mine from United Airlines days long ago actually used to own a DC-3, and he came over to participate in that, and it was a monumental journey, and it was actually documented on YouTube as well. Just keeping the plane in one piece, the weather. These airplanes aren't really an all-weather kind of aircraft, and just keeping them running is just a challenge. So Good on them for doing it. It's a big commitment.
It is a massive commitment to do this, and obviously, like the story says, to do this now while we still have some surviving, some surviving veterans of that era. So yeah, good idea. Really, really good idea. Actually, earlier on in the chat room, I did note that where was it here? In Mark Priestley, I think it was Mark Priestley in the chat room, said, where is it here? Carlos, would you go up in a Typhoon? Absolutely. If someone wants to give me a flight in a Royal Air Force Typhoon, Eurofighter Typhoon, yeah, just email us in the show. I'll be there. Yeah, definitely. I'll get Matt to cover me at work. He'll be fine.
Pay to see you afterwards.
Really?
If they take you up and ring you out, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely would be definitely one for me to do. I would like to experience a fighter jet flight. I also the Spitfire one. To be fair, I do occasionally look at the adverts on social media for the flights in the Spitfire here in the UK, and I think it's the cheapest one is just shy of £3,000 for half an hour. I think it is, John, to have a flight in. And I just think, do I just do it? Just don't tell Gemma and see how I get on. Probably wouldn't be a good idea. No, better.
I mean, to be fair, it would be totally wasted doing that like with me, but they aren't going to be flying forever, are they?
Yeah.
I think that's the reality, isn't it? Unless they essentially rebuild one completely from scratch. I'd if you're going to do it, mate, I'd say do it sooner rather than later, if I'm honest.
It's one of those things, Matt. We're lucky. We go to the air shows here in the UK. Whether it be Duxford for the summer show that we're going this year. When we go to various other air shows where we see the likes of the Sally B and the Spitfires, the Hurricanes flying in formation, and also the float planes and stuff they have there flying, and you just think, we'd love to be able to just fly on one, just especially the B-17. That I think that would be definitely one to get a seat in and a flight on. But yeah, I'll have to save some money up, do the Spitfire. I think that's the way forward.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah. Right, we are going to start to wrap up the show for tonight. But Matt, I think you can do the socials this week. Where can people find out more about us and what we do here on the show?
Oh, now you're asking. Right, socials. Search your chosen app, Blue Sky, X. What else we've got? Instagram and Facebook. All you need to do is search for Plain Talking UK, all as one word. Our email address, it is podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. I know both producer John and Nick would love to receive your feedback via email. They'd love to hear from you on that one. You can also send us a message via Facebook Messenger as well. Carlos will usually pick that up for you. And the website, new website on the way. Some work is being done to that at the moment, working on biogs and things like that. Need to get that sorted as soon as possible, please, Carlos, so that I can progress with that one. But the old site, the original site, is still available if you want to find out a bit more. You could even buy yourself a mug. We've got a military mug and a normal PTUK mug as well, along with T-shirts. Go to www.plaintalkinguk.com.
Yes, as Matt said, we would love to hear from you. If you've got some feedback, you can send video feedback, because then you can you can be famous and on TV and have everyone watch you on telly. Infamous, yes, infamous. We'd love to hear from you, and yeah, that would be fantastic. So we're going to say a big thank you first to Armando, who popped in there to give us his thoughts on our first story on the show this week, which if you missed that, you can always watch that again and listen to that back on Catch Up as well. Very in-depth discussion on the events of the last few weeks. And yeah, thank you to Armando. And also a big thanks as well to our glorious cargo pilot extraordinaire, John Jester. Thank you, John, for joining us tonight. It's been lovely to have you on the show, as always.
Glad to be here. Glad I was able to help out.
And also with that lovely backdrop. We every time you come on the show now, John, you know you're going to have to pull out of the bag an incredible backdrop.
Yeah, I was trying to debate what the best one was. I like this one, but I said it's really good. The Northern Lights photos from this month too. So I'll share one of those with you here afterwards.
Awesome. And also thank you as well to producer John for joining us on the show. Is John still here? Is he still here?
I'm still here,
He's still
but
here.
My video is completely gone.
No.
Thanks for having me. Sorry about the tech.
That's all right. It happens to the worst. Best of us. Worst of us. Best of us. Matt knows what it's like here with the tech stuff.
I deny everything.
And also, thanks for Matt for joining us tonight. It's been lovely to see you, as always, Mr. Smith.
Hi, yes. We haven't really discussed my location, have we?
No, as you may have noticed, Matt is not in his studio, the P2UK Master Suite studio. He's not in this studio with me. He is in a studio where, well, Matt spends a ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'm in Studio 2 of Park Radio this evening. I'm actually at Broadcasting HQ for Park Radio, so I'm in Studio 2. There was a presenter in this room here when I first got here, so it took a little while. And I'll tell you what, if you're still watching afterwards, I'll give you a little tour of the studio. I'll put me phone on. We'll pop into Studio 1, the main hub, and you can have a look at that.
Posh.
So a reason to watch the YouTube video if you want to have a look at our local radio station here in Dis.
Excellent. Right, we are going to head off now, but make sure you join us next week for the next show, episode 538 of the show. Big thanks to all the YouTube viewers tonight for tuning in and watching us and listening tonight as well. And also not forgetting everyone who downloads the show as an audio podcast as well. Massive thank you very much to all you out there across the globe who download each week and listen to the show. Thank you very much indeed. So that's it for episode 537 of the show. We'll be back next week, so have a great rest of the week, whatever you're up to, and make sure you stay safe, and we'll see you all next Wednesday. Say goodbye, Matt.
Goodbye, Matt.